Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are good. Guys, today we're going to be reacting to when delusional woke people get owned. 10 guys, let's get right into this.
I'm standing here now, a biological male, wearing a dress with a pair of leggings. When you harp on your right to distinguish between men and women, are you afraid that you're going to be attracted to trans women?
I'm not.
You, sir? Are you positive? Why is it that you harp on your right to distinguish between men and women? If you can always tell, why is it so hard?
Well, because it's not even merely that you're putting on a dress, it's that you and people who identify as transgender are infringing upon rights and spaces that properly belong to women. So when you ask me, why do you care about this issue? The reason is because we live in society and we have political rights, and also because we care for the truth.
So before, when you had a different opinion to a lot of these people, they'd call you transphobic, but apparently their new tactic is to say that you're secretly attracted to them. It reminds me of when women get rejected by men and they call the man gay.
But he really funny, he down to earth. I'm like, all right, cool. So I told him that I broke up with him. I'm what's up now? He was like, you didn't break up with him. No, you didn't. And I didn't, but I'm like, this gay. How you not?
You see how up that is? You see that?
He wasn't interested. He gotta be
you don't
gay.
want that, I don't want none. That's crazy.
Black people have rightly said they don't want to be referred to as the N-word. All decent people respect that wish and don't use language that minority communities find offensive. And I think that's simply what trans people are also asking. Clearly, as someone who grew up in the 1970s and saw the National Front march through immigrant areas using inflammatory language against black and Asian people, terrorizing those people, which did spill over into violence, attacks on Asian homes and shops, temples and mosques, I don't want to see a repeat of that.
I'd like to move this a little and say that the words he, him for a man are just the very ordinary words. They're not the equivalent of the N-word. I think the equivalent of the N-word would be...
Let her cook.
One of the reasons that we need free speech isn't just because we enjoy speaking or we want to say what our ideas are, important though that is. It is because we use language to write rules and laws. And if we are not able to call all male people male and all female people female, we cannot write rules that say all male people must stay out of this space. So if we give away words like he, him, male and man for people who are male, and we start calling them she, her, female, woman, it becomes impossible to say, but you are not welcome here. And the thing is, we're back to the question of who can come into female-only spaces. I contend that only female people can come into female-only spaces. So I need to be able to call male people male in order to explain why they can't come in. This is just tautological. This isn't me trying to resurrect the N-word. Half of humanity is male. Half of humanity is he, him. These are not rude words.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
See, people like this guy that say that anybody can identify as whatever they want, whenever they want, act like they care so much about humanity. But if they cared so much about humanity, why are they fighting to change systems that are in place to protect women? There's some people putting biological men in female prisons when they've been accused of sexual crimes towards women.
Some people are really fucking stupid.
I was at work and a customer called me sir, and I said, sir, actually it's a ma'am. And then everyone around started clapping, and the guy who said it actually got arrested.
And then he was sentenced to death, yeah, I'm sure.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women
don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
we
stopping
have no
you? You
barriers.
can do whatever you want.
I can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
They know technically nothing's stopping them. They can try and do whatever a man does. They can go and do whatever they want. They just don't want to do it, or deep down they know they're not capable.
Setting aside the bias and the double standards, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve outcomes for historically disadvantaged groups. There's nothing wrong with the ideals you identified as the ideals of the woke movement. The objection to woke culture is not the end the woke are pursuing, but the means they use to pursue it. And the favoured methods of the woke finder generals, as I'm sure all of you know, is not to argue, to persuade, to debate, but to smear, to ostracise, to publicly shame, to cancel. That, I'm afraid, is the tactics of the woke. This is the way they go about trying to achieve their objectives.
You're on record for stating, and I quote, "This is the gayest generation of America." What are your overall thoughts on this? Because some of your opponents seem to believe you have homosexual tendencies.
Well, it is the gayest generation ever. Every fact shows that more young people are gay than any other generation. Yeah, I think my record of my marriage speaks for itself. But is there something you want to tell us about your own?
I mean, you don't gotta accuse me of being gay. Just because you're married don't mean that you're not homosexual yourself.
Well, you came up here asking about the gayest generation. I got some questions about you, man.
You're coming to my campus that I represent, calling us, one of the gayest generations.
Well, it is
in America.
One out of 5 young people are lesbian, gay, or trans.
And even though I don't,
it's the gayest generation ever.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
What the fuck just happened?
Internet's gonna love that one.
Weird guy. I don't know if he's standing up for gay rights or if he's pissed off that he's part of the gayest generation. Either way, facts are facts, and he's not trying to insult anybody, because it says here, nearly a third, or 28% of Gen Z adults in the United States identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer. A larger share than older generations.
If you were to describe what it means to be a man or to be masculine.
I'm Griffin, and I don't identify as a man. I'm non-binary. I still have elements of, my identity that are masculine, elements that are feminine, elements that don't fall within that range. I personally just don't feel tied to the norms or the confines of gender at all.
I think that the notion of masculinity is just something that can be possessed by man or woman. Man, woman, non-gender conforming person. What it means to be masculine is just changing and very fluid.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
I was not always a good man. I was not always what you would call a healthy masculine man. And so as my life has changed, I've identified 5 points that I think make a truly masculine man masculine. Okay. I think point number 1 is a man who walks with God. Point number 2 is a man who stands on principle. Point number 3, which is a masculine man, is self-sacrificing. So someone who is willing to sacrifice for point 4, the people that he leads. A true man is a leader. And number 5, a masculine man is never a coward.
Fellas, do not allow society or anybody make you think that being a masculine man is a toxic bad thing. Forget this toxic masculinity bullshit. There's only toxic people. You can get toxic women, toxic men. When shit hits the fan and there's a war, it's masculine men that come to the rescue. It's not weak men that are not proud to be men.
Dear leftists, I'm very happy to take part in this debate about democracy in Europe. So let me give you some example of very major democracy in Poland. Polish nation rejected you, dear leftists, 8 times. 8 times in a row you have lost elections in Poland. So get used to it, because you're gonna lose again. Let me give you some data about Poland and Polish democracy. The lowest unemployment in European Union is Poland. The highest GDP after COVID in European Union is Poland. One of the lowest debts in European Union is Poland. So don't give us this rubbish. We don't need your doctors. We don't need your engineers. Take them all and pay for them. Because there is 0 terrorist attacks in Poland. Why? Because there is no illegal migration in Poland. So don't give me this look.
I mean, can you blame Poland for not wanting to be part of the woke madness that's spreading all over Europe and America? It's getting ridiculous.
So I am going to spend the next minute screaming, because that is what is going on in here.
Shut the fuck up!
Trans women should be allowed in women's sports.
So you look, for example, at someone like Leah Thomas, who was the swimmer from UPenn, who came first in her event. If you look at her statistics from her freshman year when she was competing in the male division to where she was at by her senior year or junior year, whatever last year was, when she was competing and winning the tournaments, as she started to take estrogen and hormone replacement therapy and things like that, her statistics went down a lot. And the difference between her and the male world record and the difference between her and the women's world record were pretty much the same when she was competing as a man versus competing as a woman. A lot of other biological factors outside of hormones, we think, play a much bigger impact on what sports are, when really the only difference that tends to happen is hormones and the way you can build muscle mass.
Did he say anything to you that persuaded you to move to the disagree line?
No. Biologically born women should only be able to compete with the women, and then biologically born men should only be able to compete with the men.
Because why?
I feel like what he said about the different body mass, muscle mass, I do understand that they do take hormone blockers to help with that, but I still feel like there may be some sort of disadvantage.
I said it before, but let's just allow biological men to compete against women in sports. Not just so donuts like this can see just how bad it would be and how it'd ruin women's sports, but also so we can all get rich and place bets on the biological men.
Tell them to bring me my money.
People have referred to me as she, and I've been like, oh, not she, it's they. And then they're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I'm trying to do so much better. And at the end of the day, you're then putting the onus on trans people for taking the responsibility for your mistakes. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's why we're correcting you, so you can do better and move on. But like, you're putting trans people in a really uncomfortable position when you make them try to make you feel better or alleviate any guilt. You know, I think it is about being patient with people, but also we're not just going to be patient for anyone, because you need to actually be making an effort. These are new things and they do take time to learn.
Look, pronouns and gender aside, it's crazy to me that so many of these donuts are coming out of universities. That's meant to be the place where you get an education, not where you get dumber. And this is why I completely agree with this quote. It says, never confuse education with intelligence. You can have a PhD and still be an idiot.
Okay guys, well, this was a lot to take in, but I'm going to speak. Okay, let's just get right into this. I'm going to talk about I can't really place my hand on the clip, but you see, I agreed with, I think, you know, there are four people in the sitting, and I agree with the woman, because whenever I'm talking, I just talk for myself. I don't talk for anybody. I don't talk for people around me. I talk for my family. I talk and speak for myself and myself alone. And these are like things I live with, my beliefs, my principles. I believe that, or to me, I would want a state where, or a space where women should be women and men should be men. And, you know, when there's a space like, let's say, a locker room where they said only women for women, I believe only women should be allowed in there and not trans. I don't have anything against trans, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't judge at all. But, you know, there's something called having your space and privacy. You know, when you're not comfortable with someone who identifies as a woman but has a man genitals, I would not be comfortable with that. So I believe that there should be space for just women and for men. And if this has to be a very big problem, then it's high time they create another place for trans, you know, to avoid people being uncomfortable where they're supposed to be comfortable. And also, like I said, I don't have anything against trans. I mean, if you feel like what you were born with is not enough for you, you feel like you're not okay being a man, you're not okay being a woman, and you feel like you want to be the other sex, then fine, go ahead. You have you and your decisions to make. But you should understand that getting accepted into the society may take a while, may take some people to be able to adjust towards you. I don't know if you get that. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but you want people to accept you. It's just like, okay, let's take, for example, I'm a student here, and let's say a trans, let's say a male that identifies as a female gets moved to my class, my school, and she or he wants to be friends with me. You see, I don't have a problem. That's why I say I don't judge people. It's your decision. It's what you want for yourself. Do you get? It's what you want for yourself. But if me not being so free with you and all, like the way I'm free with, you know, my same sex, you should really not feel offended, because it takes a little time, or it takes time for one to process and adjust and feel so comfortable with you. So guys, let's all just understand this. And also, I'm going to talk on the man that, you know, was given principles as a man. You see, most women will be like, oh, this is why men are toxic. But they are toxic men. I'm not going to deny that fact. They are toxic men. But there are also men that live with these principles that are not toxic. You understand? So not all men are toxic. I'm going to end on that. But guys, you tell me what you think about this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel. Love you guys.